Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science and Technology. In today's show, Rocket Monday, we're going to talk about ESA's Proba-3. So let's dive deep into it. So what exactly is this? Well, apparently it means try in Latin, and its full form is Project for Onboard Autonomy. You have to understand, as our satellites have become better, more complex and more capable, we are reaching a point where we do not want to control everything from ground. Even though we could do it, it's just like, why? It's like we want certain level of autonomy. Now again, that's a very big ask on a computer algorithm that is exposed to basically high radiation environment of the space. But how would you do it? You prove it brick by brick, day by day, small testing by testing. So this is what they're doing. Now this mission is done by European Space Agency. Now okay, that's what they are trying to do. That's the whole ecosystem of that Probos. What this third number mission is doing, well, the core focus is sun's chronography. Now that is priceless to humanity because we are very vulnerable to it. So we needed that and they are doing it. And what is the biggest achievement of this project, or like biggest show off of this project, is first precision formation flying. Now we have so far many precision basically measurement of formation flying, meaning you have two satellites, they are measuring itself, like how close you are. That's there, like you align it and then you measure very precisely how far you are. Awesome, GG. But here's the, this is the first time where they are going stay exactly this far. I tell you to be 144, basically a gap from this to this, so it'll be 144 meters. It will be 144 meter in space in elliptical orbit. So that's the taking a next step. We figured out the measurement part. Now it's like, how about control, active controlling of it? So that's a big ask. Now this mission is not a very flagship kind of mission, so budget is kind of mid. It's around 200 million euros. In dollars, that's around $211. So not too high. Now this puppy would be launched on Indian's PSLV. Now you're like, why? Well, in ESA's website, they have a very good answer in FAQ section. Their Vega rocket is too weak for that highly elliptical orbit that they want, and Ariane 6 is too expensive. So they're like, okay, we need something in middle. Ta-da! PSLV. So now here's the deal. When this is supposed to be launched, nobody has any idea. I checked ISRO's website, no data I could find. I checked ESA's website, no data I could find. I do not know where this hardware is. Its hardware is built, hardware is supposed to be launched. It should have flown by now. So in September 2024, so when I'm making this video, it should already be in space. It's not. So soon, trademark. By the time you are watching it, which would be, if you are not a member, it could be 1 week from now. So maybe by that time, but like it's almost lost. It's like I could not find exactly where, but it is a very interesting mission. So question becomes why? Well, here's the deal. Sun is an active star. You have to understand, every star is a different kind of puppy. Some are very barky, some are very calm, some are very naughty. Earth, Sun comes around into like a mid kind of. It's like a chill but not too chill kind of a star. And on top of that, it is going through its active phase. Again, Sun goes through a whole life cycle, so it's not a very chill. Basically, you cannot count on it. So what does that mean for us? That simply means that this puppy is spewing out CME, coronal mass ejection. Basically this, yeah, choo. So this coronal mass ejection, these puppies are fast, powerful. How fast? You have to understand, Sun to Earth distance is 8 minutes plus for light speed. These puppies can reach us in around 15 hours. That is scary how fast that is. That's like, damn. That's ludicrously fast. Let that be very clear. That is ludicrously fast. Now be mindful, not every CMS is that fast. Some have very slow magnetic snaps, or it could take 3-4 days or a week. And sometimes it's like, bang, 15 hours. So that's a very big scare point. Now thankfully, because again, we are at least 8 light minutes away. So best case scenario, you're gonna get a 10-hour head start. If you have enough observatory and you're observing it, you can get that. Now question becomes, why does that matter? It's Sun, who cares? Well, it does matter because without safeguard, we could go into what we classify as Carrington event. Carrington event is like, one time there was like ludicrous, like Sun sneezed hard. It's like it went habachu, and it went really hard. It fried telegram cables back in those days. Now here's the why. Again, it's complex electromagnetic dynamics. Basically, Earth's magnetosphere, that magnetic shield, Sun's coronal mass, it's pressing. It's like and that's inducing current. So basically all the cable we have, basically the grid, yeah, that will become like an antenna and get boomed. So that's a very big event. Now that was in, like, if I'm not mistaken, 1800s, 1855 or something like that. It was bad. It fried a lot of equipments. But again, nowadays, if something like that happens, yeah, we did. All our grid will be fried, roasted. Done, we did. So that's a very serious hazard. Like, that is serious enough that every country is pouring money into it. So that's how serious it is. So, and another aspect of it, that is mathematical reality. It's going to happen. It's like, if you have tectonic plates, if you have active tectonics, you're gonna have earthquake. You can have very little earthquake, you can have a lot of earthquake, you can have frequent. Those are different things, those are variables, but there is a constant. You're gonna have earthquake. Same goes here. The way our sun is, this puppy is gonna have a sneezing event, which we call CME, and it will cause one of those current and event. And be mindful, this is happening all the time. It's just that it's missing Earth. It's like, oh, in that direction, oh, in that direction. We just have to be lucky enough where it does not boom. So now, thankfully, if we can detect it, if we are damn sure about it, we can do mitigation step, meaning you will scream in everything, please disconnect every single appliances that you can disconnect everything, so they do not become a big antenna, and every power plants would be disconnected, everything would be grounded to the best of their abilities. And you're like, wouldn't that cause some serious harm? Absolutely. But here's it, if grid goes, that harm that would have caused from, like, direct loss of power, yeah, that would look like a minor inconvenience. So it's a very serious vulnerability of our time. Our reliance on technology makes us vulnerable, so we have to have a protection against it. It's basically like, if you are living next to a coast, you invest in sea buoys so you can detect a tsunami incoming. That's the same logic here. We live in a techno world. That techno world is vulnerable to coronal mass ejection, so we are deploying buoys to detect us, to give us head start, where it's like, hey bruh. Now that's why we want lots of instrument, lot of precision, lot of accuracy. Only then you can pick up a phone and it's like, president, it's time to press the red button and disconnect the power grid. And unfortunately, that time is around 24 hours to shut down the grid safely. So yeah, that's a big issue. And 15-hour timeline. Eesh. So you're cutting it kind of close. And yes, every country has a plan for it. They have not tested it, not we really need to do, like, drills for it. But again, we are learning how vulnerable we are, and we are just hoping that by the time we are ready, then CMS happens, not before we are ready. So yeah. So okay, then you may be like, okay, if this is this significant, why don't we study it from Earth? Well, we do. That's how we made our first predictions. Is the problem is Earth's atmosphere. Earth atmosphere does two things. First, it scatters, then it does absorption. Meaning, if you want to absorb a sun's chromosphere, you want to use all of electromagnetic spectrum. Now, majority of electromagnetic spectrum is opaque. Our atmosphere is like, no, ultraviolet, you shall not pass. Infrared, you shall not pass. And things that do pass, like let's say optical spectrum, it has an issue where it scatters. So it becomes a very fluffy. Basically, instead of having precise 4 megapixel photos, you get VGA photos. So we can't really do it on Earth. So we do need to go out. So that's why orbital flying. So this is why we are doing so much investment in this sort of things. Now, what is the technology in here? Now, technology, let this very clear. This is a whole ecosystem of trying to develop things. So this is classified as IOD, aka in-orbit demonstration. Like India did Mangalyaan mission. Basically, we went to Mars. Why? Again, it was a demonstration. Can we do it? So this is something similar. Now, free floating occluder disk. Basically, if you watch all the chronospheres that we have right now, you will find something like this. There is a giant black bar. What the hell is this? Well, that's a penalty of having occlusion disk. Now, why do you need occlusion? There is no sensor that can have that sort of contrast that is needed for solar chronography, because sun surface, that ball that you can see, that plasma ball, yeah, that ball is million times brighter than the chronosphere. Now, you cannot picture both of them at the same time. You just cannot. So the only way to do that is like exactly how our eyes adjust when you are going through a scenario where somebody has high beam on. You do like this, and then you can easily see around it. Same thing here. What if you block the sun physically, not electrically, not on sensory, physically block the damn thing? Then you're like, I can see now. Like, you can see it. These things are too dim. It's happening all the time. It's just you cannot see it because it's too dim. Now, humanity got the first taste of it during eclipses. When the eclipses are like, why the heck it becomes bright? It's like our eyes auto-adjust, and then they're like, what the hell? There is chronosphere around it that is so dim that we do not see it. But when that occlusion happens, it's like, oh, I see now. So we need that. We need a disk to physically chill out the sun. It's like, bruh, chill, and then we see it. Now, here's how do you hold that disk? So you have a membrane or a structure or strut or whatever have you, but that causes occlusion, basically diffraction and all that. So they fry out this part of the cell. Basically, do not read the data on it. So ideally, you're going to have multiple observatory. One will have in this axis, one will have in that axis. So you still get a complete picture. So how do you bypass this issue? Put it far. So free floating occlusion rate does not have this blockage, meaning all of the sensor, round sensor or square sensor, whatever they are using, all of it is fully available. Now, okay, that makes sense. Okay, you have free floating, so you do not have to worry about this. But why the heck they are 144 meter away? That distance sounds very odd because the telescope is this size. So why the heck a tiny telescope needs 144 meter? Well, there comes because of this. So when you have a disk and you have photons going around it, photons becomes wavy. So that wavy cause waviness. That waviness causes what we call diffraction. That diffraction causes blurriness. Basically, instead of getting atmosphere blurring effect, you have occlusion disk causing blurriness. So what do? You let it dissipate. That is basically how you have a boat going a calm river. You chill, you relax, you wait few minutes, and then it's like, tada, everything's calm. Same thing. You just put it far enough where that things will go away. So that this onion ring that is happening, that will happen not on your sensor basically. So that's why that distance is so far compared to the size of it. So 144 meter occlusion disk. So the diffraction, basically this puppy will be one of the best, clearest photo that we have. We have instruments like this will be comparatively like 2 megapixel and that puppy will like 24 megapixel clarity wise. Even though sensor could be physically the same, but the fact of the actual engineering, hey, we have a occlusion disk that's not casting shadow, that's good. We have a disk that is so far that this diffraction is not happening. That alone will improve actual optical resolving power. That's there. And there is another benefit. Once you have distance this far away, rather than having a telescope tube and then having a tiny disk there, you have wider field of view. Like you can watch much larger area. Benefit of that, because again, when you have this coronagraph, you can actually see the stars. And you have a coronal mass ejection, you can study how fast it's accelerating or decelerating. You can study it's like, hey, star A, it occluded star A, star B. Based on your angle, you can calculate that's the speed. That's how you can calculate what is the speeds. And better models can be created. If we are getting this sort of magnetic polarization, this will happen. Because again, how do you know? You build up that data. How do you build up that data? You collect the data. How do you collect the data? You have a wider field of view. That 144 meter has a secondary advantage, wide field of view. So that distance allows for super faint 1 to million. Basically, contrast ratio is improved drastically, and this effect is removed. So it's very sharp. It's like crisp. And again, any of you have experience with DSLRs or mirrorless, you know for a fact that all lenses in principle on mathematics, you're like, hey, what if I shrink the aperture? It should become sharper and finer. But once you go below a certain point, it becomes blurry. That's the same thing is happening here. You cannot bypass this sort of waviness of light. You have to account for it. So that's the technology of it. That's why it has two free floating stuffs and why the heck distance is so bonkersly large. And it will not have this sort of black shadow. So what's the mission of it? Well, mission profile is highly elliptical Earth orbit. That's why their Vega rockets cannot do this. It's ludicrously far up and then it comes almost touching back into the low Earth orbit. It's like very elliptical, ludicrously elliptical. Now, the expected time of these two puppies making love to each other in space is around 2 years. Now, why is that? Well, that precision flying is the part. Precision measurement, we could do that indefinitely even. Precision flying, that means you are expending propellant in order to keep it. These things have cold gas thruster to do that precise management. Unfortunately, that means every time you're doing it, you are expending propellant. That means you're gonna run out of it. So they managed it in such a way that when it goes into perfect observation point, it will for 6 hours in each orbit, it's gonna do formation flying where it's actually expending thrusters, expending fuel, propellant is going to properly maintain it. That's good, GG. And then it's gonna chill out, basically dump data onto Earth. That would be 19.6 hours of orbit. So that gives you give or take 30% active time, 30% when it's actually doing the job it's supposed to do. And their calculations suggest that they should be able to do this puppy for 2 years minimum. So that's the whole point. Now, how they are making sure that these stay there? Thrusters they have very micro thrusters, 1 Newton thrusters, very micro thrusters. Another aspect is that they have a very interesting laser system. This laser, so basically this puppy will fire laser into the occlusion disk, the round thing, that it will fire laser on there, and that round thing has what we call corner cube reflector. That laser will come back. Now, based on interferometry, these words, interferometry of that, they could figure out how far it is, like all the XYZ dimension they can figure out, and very precisely. So the idea is that they should be able to maintain millimeter level accuracy. So when they say 144, what is the plus and minus? It's not 142, 145, no. It's 144 or 143 point, something like that. It's like very precise. So corner cube retroreflectors are helping it to achieve that. That's the laser, real laser. I'm not joking. Like, this is a real long exposure photography. They did that to show that, but it's there. So that's the mission of it. Basically, this will fire lasers, this will reflect it, no active electronics, and it will figure out based on thrusters. And it does have radio communication and everything else. It's just the laser is the backbone that allows it to have like very precise calculations. So what can we expect in the future? Well, here's the thing. Many mission planners are salivating at this point in time. If you can give them a toolkit where it's like, use this tool to build a precision formation flying, they're like, sir, we can build so many things. We can make exponentially greater telescopes compared to even James Webb Hubble telescopes. Again, you can have same Hubble mirrors, just float them very far away. Hubble, again, you can do that. James Webb Space Telescope, you can, that's actually segmented. If you can float the segment far away, while the brightness will not go up, but the resolving power will go exponentially. So you can have, basically your megapixel will go much higher, much higher if you can do precision flying. But problem is that puppy requires nanometer level accuracy. Here we are at millimeter, but here's the interesting part. If you can do millimeter level guarantee, where it's like, no, we are within this millimeter, let's say 5 millimeter plus and minus. Again, that's also, I'm telling too much. They are expecting millimeters, 1 millimeter or 2 millimeter, that kind of. But let's say you have satellites that is guaranteed for, based on thrusters and all that jazz, that it will be 5 millimeter plus and minus. You can have a system that moves 1 centimeter inside that within nanometer accuracy. Basically, that's how wafer machines are done. So they have a big slate, caddy, I would say, that moves around, and to move the actual wafer on a nanometer scale, they do not move the whole thing. They just move a small stage on it. So you have a big movement and then you have a smaller movement. So it can be done where you can have IBUS, so to say, how our camera lens are. Like, you try to your best to stabilize it, and then the IBUS removes all the smaller motion. So same thing can happen here. Basically, hey, we have 2 puppies. You do your best to do formation flying, and the flex inside would be consumed by the internal IBUS, in-body image stabilizations. So it's a very desirable technology. That toolkit where it's like, no, we tell you it works, it has worked in space, shut up, take money. That's like, there is like ludicrously long list of things that is like precision flying, shut up, take money. So people are paying a lot of attention to this technology. Another is coronal mass ejection is a big threat. It's a factual threat to us. We really do not want to be caught with our pants down where it's like sun sneezed, and whole humanity went to boom. So that would be lame. That would be really lame way to die, because we have technology to detect it. We just did not build the ecosystem to, basically we had the buoy, we just did not have the emergency beacon system. That would be lame. So it's a big threat, and we need knowledge on that. How do we need knowledge? Every tool, one tool is not enough. You need hundreds of tools. So any tool that we are adding to it, it's good. And tools like this that actually have significant enough resolution, upgrade compared to all other systems, shut up, take money. So this is a very good way of deepening our knowledge of a big real world threat. Like, you live on a planet that has a molten core, you're gonna have earthquake. We live on a planet that has electricity, you're gonna have a threat with coronal mass ejection. So that's there. And millimeter precision, again, that's also desirable. This was also another mission where they had precision measurement, not flying. They were measuring the hell out of it, but they were not controlling, very sloppy control. But now the controls are like, it's like almost like if you have a telephoto lens and it has a good image stabilization, you must have noticed, like, you're watching it, it's floating, and you turn it on, it's like, same thing. At least that's the hope. This was also another mission, MMS, where they had like multiple formation flying. Now, formation flying was very sloppy in these sort of things, where they're like, okay, just tell the distance. These things are like, tell the distance. That what we are doing right now, it's like, no, I tell you to be 144 meter away. So it's a very impressive gains like we are doing, not only in the technology, not only in the tool that we are developing. Both are really good and surprisingly cheap. So it's a good thing we are doing right now. So this was my presentation on this third mission. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.